One of the most mind boggling aspects of the mental disease known as political leftism is the left's relentless obsession with chemically based health interventions. I'm referring specifically to those drugs which start with the letter V and rhyme with the name Maxine. Now, the fact that I must avoid outright mention of these drugs, or else risk being banned or censored on this platform, is itself a commentary of the left's tendency to restrict freedom of speech whenever it contradicts one of their pet narratives. In the case of these chemically based health interventions, they're predicated on the fallacious belief that lab created drugs can confer better protection against various diseases than one's own God given immune system. Now, take for instance the case of professional bodybuilders. These athletes spend their careers cultivating their bodies and pushing their physiques well beyond the limits of muscularity that were intended by God. To achieve this, they take the chemical interventions known as steroids or synthetic testosterone or other such drugs. And with the help of steroids, they're able to attain preternatural levels of muscular growth and development. But the price they pay is often premature death. The side effects of steroids include severe liver damage, an enlarged heart, and many other afflictions. And by the time their careers are over, these bodybuilders stop taking performance-enhancing chemicals. They often discover that their bodies no longer produce testosterone naturally, leaving them entirely dependent on artificial testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, for the rest of their lives. Thus, by artificially suppressing their body's natural testosterone production, they end up destroying it. Now, next, consider instances where individuals who regularly take seasonal flu shots often become even more susceptible to getting colds and flus than those who don't. Again, this falls into a category of natural immunity suppression by using man-made health interventions. Doing so typically makes the flu shot recipient the victim of a permanently compromised natural immune system and renders them wholly dependent on pharmaceutical-grade medications for life. With this in mind, what happens when someone decides to take an unwarranted health intervention in the form of chemicals that start with a V and rhyme with the name Maxine? Well, the conclusion is self-evident. The recipient becomes, as it were, an unwitting addict to those interventions to the point of permanently undermining his or her natural immunity to all manner of ailments. The proponents of these synthetic chemicals like to point out that devastating diseases like polio and smallpox, which they falsely claim were cured by these chemicals, the problem with this theory is that in both cases, the diseases were already in long-term decline and on the verge of complete extinction by means of natural immunity, well before the introduction of artificial treatments. Then there's a tendency for authoritarian-style governments to forcibly inject their subjects with these drugs. Communists are especially notorious for forcing these mandates on their citizens, as we saw throughout the history of the Soviets under Stalin and China under Mao. Indeed, there seems to be an obsessive desire for authoritarian governments to inject their people with unhealthy chemicals, even under threat of imprisonment for those who refuse to comply. Could it be that the motive behind this is a desire to completely dominate the individual in an attempt at literally getting under their skin? At the end of the day, unwarranted health interventions, especially when mandated by so-called authorities, are an attempt at making the individual the property of the state, all of which can be avoided by trusting your God-given natural immune system instead of the ineffective chemicals of Big Pharma. This is South Bay. Thanks for listening.